Now you mean
That would be on the ballot?
a referendum?
Are you
on
talking
the
about that
ballot?
referendum on the ballot?
On the ballot?
Yeah.
A referendum, Lynn,
I understand.
actually, Lynn
Yeah.
can probably speak
On
to
the
that.
ballot.
That would be a referendum on the ballot. So people could vote for it, is what you're saying, vote yes or no?
To my knowledge, I mean, I can talk to Mark Stevens, to my knowledge, we could only do a non-binding referendum on something like that. That's what I understand about our local rules. Like if we, would have had a charter, for instance, we could have, I mean, that could have been put into the charter for that allowance. But you can do a non-binding, because I can remember we had an issue, where we looked at having federal inmates, and Commissioner Irwin, looked into that particular issue and, suggested a referendum. And Mark Stevens said the only thing you could do was non-binding. You could definitely do that to get the will of the people and see what the people thought. So it is something that could happen in that regard.
Okay, the next question, who decides community standard? My favorite points concerning this whole thing. You wanna answer?
Yes, yeah, I'll answer that. Because I wanted to say something about the Miller test. The Miller test overturned a previous ruling that dates back to the 1800s. And that was the standard. And so deciding obscenity was in the library, anywhere else, was left up to the community. And it was a community standard that was set, and so it could change from community to community. And the standard that, the Supreme Court, that they adopted actually came out of Great Britain. And that was the standard until this Miller test, which overturned everything, and really kind of, I would say, you got rid of community standards. When I've heard this question about, well, we don't have any community standards in this county, well, yes, we do. And the standard before was, we didn't put porn on the shelves of the library, or in our schools. That was it goes without saying. And however this started and when it started, I don't know. I gather it's kind of recently, but, a small group has changed the community standard. And so now you are seeing this backlash. I think that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, Richard is, correct about the community standard, and we have to make that community standard. We have to define that community standard, because right now, there's a small group, the LGBTQIA and the P-Flag organization, they are defining for us, the majority, their standard. And we have to, be able to, push back against that and reestablish a community standard. Because if we don't, that 1% of the LGBTQAI and the P-Flag, they will actually drive the community standard for us. And we have to stand up to this minority group and actually push back against it. Now, it doesn't mean that we're gonna harm anybody, but that's what our standard is. Our standard, particularly as Christians, we don't harm people. We do have a community standard. And so, I kind of established that back in February, and I dropped that packet of, that fit on the commissioner's desk. And they saw that was the establishment of that standard. Right then, that was the beginning of it. You had to deal with that. And so once that occurred, there was a public forum, and people had to deal with that standard again. And so once again, we had to keep establishing our community standard and let people know exactly what that standard is. And it's up to us to do that.
Yes, so I received an email today from a local pastor, and he wanted to assure me that everyone in his congregation, disagreed with what our sheriff had said on Monday night. Highly respects the sheriff, but just disagreed with the Miller test and all that sort of thing. Wrote quite a lengthy, email explaining the difference, the Supreme Court, we just said. One of the things that he suggested or asked is, could we do a poll or a petition and have, people, because a lot of people did not come to the public forum. They were, maybe intimidated to speak in that environment. The gentleman here said he saw the crowd, he left. So the majority, I believe the majority of our community's voice has not been heard. And so he made a point to let me know that there were 175 adults in his congregation that were against this. So it was an encouraging email for me for a difficult week, but it was also a good idea, I thought. I don't know how we could implement that or whatever, but maybe that's a way, petition or a poll.
There are a few people working on a petition,
Okay.
and it's just, I feel like John Reagan needs to help with that, and he's been taught up in Nashville. They're supposed to finish Friday, tomorrow, so hopefully he'll be more available, because the wording's gonna have to be crafted very well in order to know what we want to ask people to sign off on, sign the petition. I personally feel like, the question that's on the table right now is about community standard, and I feel like somehow the petition needs to define community standard. What are our community standards? What does it look like, and what does it not look like? And then that way we can ask people, do you agree with this? That's what John Reagan suggested, that we should do that and say, do you agree with this, definition?
When we get to that point, I'll be glad to pass that name to you.
Great, we're gonna need people we have a handful of people who are willing to go into the churches to set up tables and get signatures, but it's gonna take a lot of work. And I don't know if there's a time limit on us putting that together or anything like that. Nathan?
Well, I'll be brief, because I know y'all wanna get back to your house, but, these nice people here were supporters of John Reagan from a long way back. I had talked to them. They are an example of what is happening locally as far as they're saying in their church that they want the issue addressed. And for every 2 people in each conservative church, there's gonna end up 10 people once we get the Popix pamphlet and Ginger's new folder. I brought Ginger into a meeting with Mr. Reagan last Friday past, and he defined the community standard as something he had envisioned long ago, which was a coalition of churches potentially as a byproduct. So what y'all haven't heard yet is that, as you say, when it switched across the state and we have a consensus, I can't get specific because I don't know exactly who's taking notes and where they're gonna go, but turnabout's fair play. However, there are certain individuals that are very important in the state of Tennessee who want to meet with us, and that information is privy to y'all at a different occasion. But, so there is a plan, and it isn't gonna stop with the legal parlance that the sheriff had to be very mindful of, so to not give away where everybody's going with this. But anyway, we're not stopping, and we're going to end up in the offices of the people who matter, and the little people who matter are gonna make it a big issue for the people who matter. And we're gonna push it until it's dealt with, as you said.
Thank you. Okay.
What I wanted to add, as my wife has heard a few rants at the house, we are not going to give up. We're not backing down. We're not going left. We're not going right. This thing is going to be resolved. Now, our sheriff, who I respect, he's a fine sheriff, but what he has done is he's conflated two separate laws together. You have one law that deals with obscenity, defining obscenity, as it violate community standards. So what that is these books are, because of the First Amendment, they have the right to express what they've written in those books under the right of free speech. So we can say, we don't, as a community, these violate our standards, we don't want them in our libraries. It's a totally another matter when you want to take that book as it is now and place it in the hands of a minor. And that's a separate law that says you cannot give minors these materials. And that law is plainly written. The books that he examined plainly violate that law. See, it's totally separate to place this in the hands of a minor. And they're violating that law. It's going to prove out. I'm fully confident that once it gets in the right hands and the right people make a decision, they're going to say, yes, you can have it in your library, but you cannot give it to minors. So we're going to win the fight to get it out of the hands of the minors, and then we're going to do the massive push to get it out of our libraries. Okay.
First of all, I want to give thanks to Commissioner Palmer. She actually went and met with the mayor of Rocky Top, the new mayor, Tinsley. I spoke with him today, and it was about this subject and how we can do this. Is again, it's a grassroots community movement, and I'll read you the kind of the law on that. But I spoke with him today, and he's looked at all the books, and he is total outrage. Okay, so what he's going to do is he's going to take his responsibility to their legislative body, and they're going to reappoint new members to the library board that has
For their area.
for their area that has a very conservative outlook. People that's lived in that community that go to church, and I'm telling you, he was really outspoken and enraged with these books in the library. So if we get with our community leaders of each mayor that has in the legislative body that has power over this is how we can control it. You don't see this stuff in the Brownsville library whatsoever. And the appointment of the Rocky Top librarian was done back, and what happened is we had an assistant librarian, the librarian there had passed, assistant librarian, been there for 20 years, and she was overlooked. And someone from the Clinton library was brought up there. Okay? So that wasn't voted on by the city council. They were taking that up tonight, actually. Yeah. Good news. Community, Commissioner Palmer, thank you so much for helping. I mean, he was just, I was really sweet. Oh, yeah. And this is Tennessee Code Annotated 10-3-103, and it's library appointment terms. Except as provided in subdivision. I'll get down to the brass tacks. Where it says the additional members are appointed by the county and the city legislative bodies to terms of 1, 2, or 3 years. All successors shall serve for terms of 3 years. Board members may serve 2, and that's all that. But you know, the nuts and bolts of this is that they're appointed by the county and the city legislative bodies. So not by the library board.
So, by the way, you said that Rossville does not have any of these. I looked up the voting record of the Rossville librarian. She is a bona fide Republican. She's the only one.
They will not be in her library.
She's the only one. That's awesome. Okay. Okay, last question. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
What is your name?
Melanie,
Okay, go ahead.
I just have 2 quick questions.
if you are willing to do something, I'll call you and we'll figure out what you're willing to do.
Okay,
Because there are multiple things that we need people doing,
okay,
phone calls, sending texts, different things they're just various things,
okay.
okay?
And my second very quick question, are you still doing the new people's dinner?
Oh, yeah.
The lady in the blue, where's the next one?
Monday night,
Where at?
Dean's.
The one in Oak Ridge
Yes.
again? Okay, thank you. What time?
6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Sorry, I started a newcomers to Anderson County group, so it welcomes new people. Jeff Cole will be speaking there if anybody wants to join.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, last question, so you can go home. Who in county government is tasked with protecting our children?
Everyone.
That's what I think too, everyone.
You can tell he's become a commissioner, he wants to speak all the time.
Hey, what do you say? Listen to me, listen to me. Thank you. That's a great question because one of the most valuable resource that we have in our county, the most precious resource that we have in our county are the children. If we don't protect them, doesn't matter what our, housing, people coming in for, housing, doesn't matter about our waste management, doesn't matter about our job market. If we don't protect our children, all that is useless. And so I'm always telling people that whenever we vote on things, think about how it will affect the future. And they are our most valuable resource. So yeah, so who protects the children? We all do protect them. I as commissioner, like a mayor, everyone up here, we have to always put our children first in everything that we do. And that's what we do our community, like taking care of our children.
I just, future commissioner.
He just became a young adult. I mean, he kind of just transitioned from childhood to, he's one of the people we would want to protect.
He's a man.
Not anymore so much, but. Nonsense. Yeah, Mama didn't.
Sure.
First of all, I'd just like to say that I'd like to thank all the commissioners that have stood up against all this for this past year or so, because I know a lot of commissioners caved and just went along. And I'd just like to thank, especially the 4 commissioners that stood up against these books and everything. And I'd just like to thank Commissioner Patch for helping me
It's
out
an inside joke, okay?
for everything he's done. Commissioner Allen, just thanks for keeping me informed and everything. Just thank you.
Okay. Is there any other new business or something we need to talk about? We need a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Okay, we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report and a second. Any, discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes, and we need a motion to, accept the secretary's report. Do we have a motion and second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, no. Motion passes.
What about your audit from last month? There was no motion on that.
Do we need to, okay. Do we have a motion to accept the 2 financial reviews that go from 2020 to 2020 through 2022?
So
That was presented at the last meeting.
That were presented at the reorganization.
moved.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second.
second. Any discussion? I would like to make a comment. Hallelujah. Okay, if we have no discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? remember those details. Is there anything else?
One thing, if anyone would like to, reach out to Mayor Templin, show that you're proud of his support, the phone number, and of course, it's on Miami City Rock office, 865-426-2838.
Mama, can I say one last thing?
Former commissioner. On the book issue, so there is a law that was passed last year, public chapter, that's called the Age Inappropriate Materials Act. And I did, when the commissioners first brought this up, reach out to Representative Reagan and Representative Butler about how to make that applicable to the county libraries, because that particular act is only applicable to the school libraries. And I know that Representative Reagan responded that he was looking into that, or that was being worked on. And one of the challenges of even that particular act is the enforcement mechanism. You know, how does that take place? And just kind of a follow-up to what Jack was saying about the two, there's, you know, giving material to minors or making it available to minors, and then also obscenity itself. If you read the sheriffs, and you know, I'm not a lawyer and haven't stayed in the Holiday Inn Express, but the sheriff was very strong in relaying his personal view of that material. And if you look at the letter that the mayor and the commissioners signed, the four commissioners, that letter was specific to the citizen whistleblower who brought the material to county commission. And I'm not a lawyer, don't know exactly what is in the mind of the sheriff, but he is not, our letter did not charge or request an investigation. The complainant was listed as Anthony Allen, actually, on first making the materials available. So, you know, I would think if there are parents out there, then that, if you listen to what he was saying at the meeting, then that would empower him to take another look at that particular issue. So it's a very complicated web. One of the unfortunate things about all of this is where the world is. We're all lawyers now, and this is common sense. You don't put this material in the library for kids, and so, but now we're all playing lawyers, and we're all having to look up statutes and do Miller tests and all of that. But the law should be based, it should be so easily understood that it's easily enforced. And so, anyhow, those are just some comments on the sheriff, because I do know, I think he's trying. And I think his letter itself can be used as a tool. And whether that is you find a child and then you go to 10 citizens go in front of the grand jury, or whatever that next step is, I think you have the sheriff himself saying it is offensive. And there is case law that's been upheld in the state of Tennessee with what's known as variable obscenity. What may not be obscene to an adult is obscene to a minor. And so, again, everyone's having to play lawyers and you know, maybe test this out, but that's the world we're in today.
So I have a quick question.
Yes.
So we're in a unique position here in Anderson County, and I understand it's Anderson County and it's Oak Ridge. So what happens in the county, how does that affect Oak Ridge? Because most of these people that are coming to this meeting are Oak Ridge. And I live in Oak Ridge. I don't want that in the Oak Ridge Library either, and it is in Anderson County. So how is that going to equate? How is that going to work out?
You know, I don't know, and again, this is another one of those questions where even, like, I've been mayor a pretty good while, Commissioner Isbell's been there a while. We're learning about the library. The library's been kind of it's been operating on its own. And Steve Meade used to be on the library board when he was a county commissioner.
And I will admit that there are some people that are significantly liberal on the library board.
Yes. Yes. But, ours, so we only have actually one county library, and that is the Bryceville Library. The others are through some type of agreement, intergovernmental, where the librarians are county employees, but the facilities are owned by the cities, the appointments to the board are by the cities, and so we're just now learning a lot about, the library board itself. So Oak Ridge is not in that coalition, but I did have that conversation, so I went and watched and listened at the forum that was held at the Clinton Community Center, and Chairman Anderson and I had some conversation about it, and he said, well, you know, the majority saw no issue, we're fine with it, and I said, well, when you were listening to the comments, the majority of the Clinton comments were actually opposed. So how do you define a community? And these are the things that we're all, you know, is it our county? Is it an area? And Commissioner Palmer, to your point, maybe it is that petition drive. I mean, I don't know. These are some of the things that we're all gonna be testing and trying to come up with the answer and figure out how to address this.
We're going through a learning curve,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay? So let's learn, let's solve it out here. And
Right.
those of us in Oak Ridge, we can turn on Oak Ridge and use what we've learned.
Yeah.
Fight that battle and get that straightened out also.
That was the plan to begin with, but I
Yeah.
just didn't know how it
Yeah,
would
but
affect.
we're gonna turn on Oak Ridge.
I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
you know, that's
Let's
what
put it
we're
this
living
way,
in out here.
turn Oak Ridge red.
Yeah, turn red, that's right.
Sandy.
We're gonna,
Okay, just one last question, how is it best to inform the citizenry of our county about this issue? The last library board meeting, there were 3 women from 3 different locations, churches, who had just found out about these books. So, is there a forum and where our voices can be heard among the other preachers?
I think it's kind of ongoing, the education. When I hear people going and knocking on church doors, talking to the pastor, it's being brought up at government meetings. A little bit in the newspapers, but not much stuff. I don't look at social media, but I imagine there's some stuff on social media about it. So it's just kind of a word of mouth, I think. And so this is kind of how a grassroots thing like this, how it starts. And people get upset and then they tell their neighbors and family and it kind of spreads, bring wildfire.
I get calls, I got a call from some people in Blount County and some people from Knox County. They would call me up and ask me how can they help. I have what's called the mini packet, not the big packet, but it does have, some materials there. So sometimes people call me and they want the mini packet. I've been on social media, some people interviewed me on the podcast about it. And so across the nation, people are kind of looking at what we're doing here in Tennessee. But I know that we will win this. It's going to take time. It's going to be a long game. And we need to have people like that are here now really involved in the fight, because it will be a fight. I got a call from a lunatic, 2 of them in fact, and they said some very, very unkind things. But you also have to realize how to really codify the wording. We are not banning books, so don't use that language. We are protecting children from sexually explicit books. So whenever they come at you with you're banning books, don't use the language to say, I'm not banning books. Say that we are protecting children. And that's how you have to communicate with people like that. Don't use their language, use our own language. And our language is that of protecting children, not getting books.
And I think the other thing, several of you pointed this out, this is a spiritual battle. And, this is a God thing. He's guiding, good in this, and, the devil's at the door.
Yes, Heather.
Commissioner Val, prayers.
Oh, yes.
He's been sick and he's been really helping us spearhead this thing. He's got all kinds of other ideas and he's really working hard to get these books out of the library. He's been sick, he did be here tonight, so I could be in the hospital.
Oh, okay. Calendar set. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn and a second, so meeting is adjourned. Nathan, you can talk to any one of us. Thank you for the meeting. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. So I'm not sure why they didn't give you a call back, but they did already. Yeah, so they just reappointed the same people. So I think so again, this is sort of like everybody talks about, this is sort of the long game, so that we should be preparing to, again, raise the names that, no, I didn't submit my name, but you, Lindsay Smith, were the names that we tried to get that we consider. So I think this go again, we have 2 more years to try to address this issue, and then we have to be more vocal. I mean, we came at the last minute, so, and we don't. Well, I'm glad you came in, and so, and this is my wife, Kelly. Yeah, so, yeah, so the thing, so again, it's interesting. I'll email it to you and find out if you let me give me the word. My wife, so, well, he spoke at the, okay.